I work Sunday mornings. I work at Best Buy and I work at Set, which is like stupid early in the morning. And then I get off work and I go to the bar and we'll drink for 8 hours, watch football, and then we used to record Sundays, but then my schedule shifted, so we record Mondays for that show now. But man, all we do is drink and watch football and then complain.
Nice. So that's what happened. That's what happened to Nick, who was supposed to be on today. Then you're saying.
Yes, we're gonna go with. He is totally not, hanging out with the friend and saying goodbye to his, to his friend's dad. He's instead getting drunk, and he's too drunk right now to even stand up. We'll go with that. Like, we're at the bar today, and obviously the Bears and Saints are playing. We live in Illinois, and this Bears fan is just getting rided into it, fucking complaining about calls, this, that, and the other. And the Saints guy is just egging him on, just like, that's not a catch. That's not a catch. Only when you're in New Orleans will that be a catch, and the ball's flopping everywhere. And this guy is just losing his mind, and the entire bar just lost it. For the last, half of the game, it was just that every time a ball was dropped or, if it hit the ground after a catch, we just screamed, that's not a catch.
Nice.
No, dude, it was so much fun.
Nice. Well, with that, let's get loaded.
Let's get loaded.
Welcome to the Loaded Box Podcast.
Where we're never first, because we're always last.
I love it. Welcome to the Loaded Box Podcast. I am Ben, and that voice you've been hearing is not DJ. That is Dan Thury of the Beer Fueled Fantasy Podcast, stepping in for DJ. Dan, we've heard you've been at the bar. Other than that, how have things been going today?
It's been going pretty great. Besides seeing Deshaun Watson on my bench in the league, it's been good. It's been good though.
It was funny because a couple of weeks ago we had Elliot Christ on our podcast as a guest, and we asked him. We were talking about how if there was an injury report for podcasters in fantasy football, experts and people, what would you be on the list for? And he said that he would be on there for a hangover. Which was a perfect answer. I thought that was the all-time answer. And then DJ pipes in that he would be on the injury report with an itchy asshole. So I think we know where DJ is right now.
Oh, it's just got herpes in the asshole? Is that kind of how it goes?
I think that's how that works. So,
maybe.
Well, thank you for coming on. If we're lucky, we'll have DJ on later in the week to preview Week 9. But do you want to talk a little bit about you guys and Beer Fueled real quick before we get going?
Yeah. So you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at BeerfieldFF. There's three of us. I am Dan Thury at ThuryBFF. We got Nick, who was supposed to be on at Nick's Barts. And then we got Hopper, third co-host at HopBFF with 2 B's. We record and release podcast episodes every Monday, Wednesday, Friday now. We're also on YouTube, and we do our YouTube Shots episode where we provide news and one additional content video Monday through Saturday. And then those guys are live every Sunday morning doing their live Q&A while I get to slave at work.
Nice. So you guys are on Instagram. Do you guys take photos of each other and post them on, or what are you guys doing on Instagram?
I normally do. I've been so busy that I kind of put that aside. I try to set that up after we got our Facebook and Twitter going. And I was off to a great start. I was basically like the Vikings last year, off to a hot start, and it just fucking tanked on me. So I will get back into it more in the off season, and then go into the next year when I have a little more time and I become a little more comfortable using Instagram.
Nice. Well, thank you very much for coming on. This is our Week 8 Instant Reactions episode. We have a couple of things. DJ and I were going to debut this week as well with this one. One of them is a playoff bucket challenge. We're going to get onto that. We'll tell you more about that on Thursday. We won't do that one today. But the other one, we always recap the games. We talk about waiver wire guys for the week, just kind of instant reactions of the games. And one of the things we were going to do, and Dan, you don't have to worry about this today. You can just give your insight and thoughts and everything as well. But we're going to do a new single syllable format, and you'll kind of see as we go throughout the games, and you'll learn quickly that DJ and I don't know what single syllable means. But for example, so let's just jump in right away to Thursday night's game. It was the Ravens just beating the piss out of the Dolphins 40-0. And my single syllable recap of this game is, it doesn't matter. And what I mean by that is, it doesn't matter who the quarterback is. The offensive lineman's going to dictate the year for the Dolphins. It doesn't matter the matchup. Alex Collins is the only Ravens player I'm using in fantasy football moving forward. And it doesn't matter what you thought about Thursday Night Football 2 weeks ago when the Chiefs and the Raiders played maybe the best game of the year. The product is going to struggle because of these players being on short rest. And that's going to be my theory for why the Dolphins played so shitty. I need an excuse.
Okay.
What are your thoughts?
It was a sloppy game. It was a normal Thursday night game, and the Ravens played better offensively than I completely expected. So my one-word syllable is, don't expect that again.
Right.
I do believe in Buck Allen. I do believe in Buck Allen in PPR leagues. I have a man crush on Justin Tucker. I will own one of his jerseys this season. And
I apologize. I would add Tucker in there as well.
Yeah, and I always love their defense against bad matchups. So
yeah,
that's it. I still believe in Jay Ajayi. I feel really bad for Ajayi, man. That offensive line is brutal. I don't know what Adam Gase has been doing. I don't know who calls the plays. I'm assuming it's him.
It's him, yeah.
Yeah, God, he gets hit 3 yards beyond the line every time. I don't know what else you can expect from him.
I don't know what the stat was after a Thursday night game, but I know on last Sunday before this against the Jets, all but 2 of his yards came after contact, which is just terrible. He's getting hit behind the line every single play. But Gase came out into the media earlier this week and said that he kind of put the blame on everyone besides the offensive line. He understands their struggles there, but he said that the veterans on the team, like, they're not doing their homework. They're not studying like who their blitz assignments are. He is throwing these guys under the bus, and now these rumors come out today about Calvin Johnson, teams reaching out to him. Do you think the Dolphins might have been one of them?
Maybe. I mean, I like your guys' receiving core there. I mean, I love Jarvis Landry. I've been a big fan of Landry. I like Parker when he's healthy.
Right.
And you guys are still a 500 team. You guys still have, you guys are 4-3?
4-3 now, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you guys still have a, decent shot at the AFC, or at least a wild card for sure. I mean, it's still early into the season. We're only halfway done with football. I think any team that wants to add Calvin Johnson is, that's an immediate upgrade. Probably 2 games after he's at least had his, his game time rust worn off.
Yeah, and I just don't see it. I mean, like you said, I kind of like the Dolphins receivers too. I just don't know where they're going to go with Landry after this year, so I think it's a bit of a wild card. But also, I mean, Calvin Johnson's retired once. Let's say he does come back. What's to say he's not just going to come back and finish out the year and be done again? That's not what the Dolphins are looking for by any means. So I feel like he needs to go to more of a more sure thing as a contender if he would ever consider coming back.
Yeah, I mean, there's been rumors all year about him coming back. Right. I mean, I know it went a little bit quiet when the season started. I can see a team like New England, like Seattle, like Minnesota. I mean,
right.
Like any team in the playoff fight would want to bring him on. I mean, there's no team out there that would say no to him. Like right. Even a team like Green Bay would stack their receivers.
I was going to say, because even though he's missed a little bit, he's still going to be one of the top receivers in the NFL. I don't think he's going to fall off that much if he's been doing anything this offseason.
I mean, he's the most athletic wide receiver we may have ever seen, based on his size and what he's been able to do. I mean, it's unreal and unmatched.
Oh, definitely. Let's jump into Sunday morning's game across the pond here. We had the Vikings 33, the Browns 16. My instant reaction to this is it's about time. And I say that because it's about time the Browns let Deshaun Kaiser play an entire game. Because I hate what they're doing there. We talk about it all the time. The Browns need to see what they have in him to determine what the hell they're going to do next year. And based on what I saw this morning and the little bit that I've seen of Kaiser throughout the year, that team right now without Corey Coleman and just kind of the array of people they have, there's not really much for playmakers there. This week they don't have Joe Thomas. And at the end of the day, we need to remember that Deshaun Kaiser is a rookie quarterback anyway, so we need to kind of tamper our expectations the way they are. But I think there might be a little something there. I don't know if I'm sold yet. I think you need a little bit more time. But I'm so glad that they actually kept him in for an entire game instead of playing this game where, oh, we're going to start Kaiser, then we're going to bench him. Oh, and then on Monday or Tuesday, we'll name him starter again.
I blame Hugh Jackson for that.
Yeah.
He's been horrible with that. I feel bad for Kaiser. It was smart of the Browns not to try. Kaiser isn't ready, but he's the best thing the Browns have. He's the only thing the Browns have looking forward. And like you said, they have no weapons there. You've been hearing rumors about Kenny Brett taking out plays, and you don't need that shit on the field.
Right.
Now is that supposed to help your quarterback out? Now, I was unable to watch the game. I was at work, but I was able to text Nick and Hopper about it. And my straight reaction is I'm a little nervous as a Vikings fan if we can't jump out early against a team like the Browns. I know the Browns have a good underrated defense, but we're not going to be bailed out defensively against better offensive teams. And if we're going to have slow starts like this and kick ourselves in the foot by missing extra points and field goals and turnovers and penalties, it's going to be tough to beat, better teams. Even without Rodgers, this division isn't won by the Vikings yet, and I hope that we get a little less sloppier, full game instead of just a second half comeback win.
Right. I think that game, I got to see basically the whole thing. It was closer than 33-16. I think if you looked at that game, you would say, well, it played to be closer than that. And building off of my it's about time, I was going to say that the Vikings get some competition here. They're 6-2 on the year, but their last 4 have been against the Bears, against the Packers basically without Rodgers, against the Ravens, and now against the Browns. But just to kind of hit on another thing you said, you'd like to see the Vikings start a little hotter, put a team like Cleveland away. And I agree with you. The one thing I would say maybe on their behalf is teams that go over to London and play, it kind of seems like one team does pretty well, the other one just really isn't there. That's kind of what I've seen from the history of those games. Both of these teams just kind of seem to just kind of be there. I don't think that either of them played really up to their ability. So I don't know. I don't want to put too much into this game that was played not even in America.
It's the London effect where the Jaguars can make every single team look silly. So.
It's their home game, man.
I know. That's another story about Jacksonville and their fans that are over there. So.
Right. Let's jump over to the Bills beating the Raiders by 20 points. My takeaway is ride the wave. I said it on the podcast last week. It's LaShawn McCoy's time. If you're an owner on him, don't give up on him. Don't be getting into this, I'm going to trade him. He hasn't scored a touchdown. If you've been using him in daily fantasy, don't give up on him now. Now's the time to buy him when he's a little bit lower. And now he scored again this week, so that makes 2 in a row. He's got the next 3 weeks he's got against the Jets, against the Saints, and the Chargers. And all of those 3 can be beatable on the ground. So I know we could probably talk a lot about this game, but my big takeaway is ride the wave with McCoy. I think this is his time. Just jump on him now.
I'm going to go with maybe not this year. This is about the Raiders as a whole.
That's perfect.
Their defense isn't up to par. Even Brendan and Bowman, I thought it was a great move. It's still not there. This offense is not in sync. There's something going on with Derek Carr. It's not just the injury. This has been going on since week 2, really week 1, also of their first couple drives against the Titans. And what I'm saying, they haven't really been great since that first couple of drives since the Titans in the first week. And you get this inconsistency with the running game. You get Lynch, who hasn't really been much of anything. He's been more of a distraction more than an influence. And what we saw from the Chiefs on Thursday night was fantastic. It was a great, breakout game, and a great get-right game for Cooper and that offense. But then you go up against an actual good defense in Buffalo, you get to see all their weaknesses. I don't believe in this Raiders team much this year. I like Crabtree. I like Cooper still. It's just you're going to get the inconsistencies from the rest of the playmakers for the rest of the year.
I totally agree with that because I think I got suckered into the fact that Oakland was so good last year when Carr played, and then when Carr went out, the whole team went down. And I was like, well, you know what? Carr's going to come back. They're going to pick up right where they were. They're adding Lynch. They're going to have a viable running back. And I wish I'd have done a little bit more homework on this team and looked at some of their matchups as well because like you said, Cooper and Crabtree kind of, I mean, they're good. I'm starting them every single week. But I feel like I'm starting them in way too many leagues, and they always seem to have tough matchups. I didn't look too much into their schedule. I just figured that they'd be fine. But every damn week they're playing against a team that has a great defense, it seems like, and you're kind of handicapping yourself by you're forcing yourself to basically start them because they're either your wide receiver 1 or 2.
Yeah, I mean it's where they're drafted. I mean, we all took Cooper, fairly early, and Crabtree's been somewhat of a steal.
Yeah.
As a 4th, 5th round pick, but I don't really blame the defenses. I mean, the Chiefs are supposed to be more of a bend don't break type of defense, and their tougher schedule is behind them. I think they have a fairly easier schedule than the first half. I had it on hand. I don't know where I put the actual schedule from me, but I still believe in them. Like if you can, go out and trade for Cooper, I still would. I think they've shown us they want to feed him and get him involved more. I'm just afraid that when Lynch comes back next week, that they're going to try to go back to weeks 2 through 4, try to use him more, and then that kind of stalls the passing game.
Right. So you're saying buy Cooper, because my next question was going to be, I own Cooper in like 3 or 4 leagues, and I couldn't tell you how many times people tried to trade for him before that Chiefs game, and I said, you know what, this is why I was holding on to him, because he's going to break out, he's going to start being more consistent. So I kind of feel like as we get closer to the trade deadline, this might be a good time to try to buy him again, and you might be, if you do own him, you might be getting some people with some proposals, so you'd probably keep turning them down.
I mean, it depends on the proposal. I'm not going to turn down every single offer. Like, if I get an insane offer for anybody, I'm going to accept it. Yeah. I mean, I'll look into it a little bit more, but I'm not saying don't go out of your way to sell Cooper. Don't go out of your way to sell Crabtree. Keep those guys. I believe they have a fairly decent playoff schedule. Mm-hmm. It's the offense isn't this good to be this bad, if you know what I mean. Like, we've seen what their potential can be. We've seen what Cooper and what Crabtree can be. I'm just not buying into the fact that it's time to move away from them. It's trying to shop them or whatever. I'm just not actively trying to trade either of them.
Right. Before we go on to the Bengals Colts, I got to tell you, I'm surprised that you didn't bring a crying baby along to this podcast. What's going on here?
I mean, I can go get one real quick. I know that sounds really dark, but
I love it. For a little history on that, DJ and I, it was before the season started, I believe, a couple of weeks before the season started. We went on their podcast, and DJ's kid would not shut up for the entire second half of the podcast. So I kept thinking, I'm like, as soon as we have one of the dudes from Beerfield on ours, they are going to get a toy or something that makes a ton of noise and just fuck with us. But nothing yet. I mean, it's been great.
No, I'll keep it somewhat classy. I'll bring the nonsense, the question mark sayings, and I can go get a dog. I guess that's the best I can get. I don't have a crying baby on hand, which would be a little weird.
Nice. I just imagined you having a shed of crying babies the way you mentioned that you could just go out and get one.
They just spawn in my room somewhere.
Yeah. Hey. Nice. Let's go on to that Bengals Colts. So Bengals eke out a 1-point win. My takeaway from this one is waiver game. I doubt Jack Doyle's available, but if you're in a 10-team league, people might have given up on him by now just because the Colts offense is so inept, but he came back with a 12, 121, and 1 touchdown game today. And then you have Marlon Mack, who was kind of a hot name on the waivers a couple weeks ago when he broke out, but then I think he had 2 games before that where he really got bottled up. So I saw in some leagues, people were anxious to pick him up. He sucked for 2 weeks, so they dropped him again. But he had another receiving touchdown today. And then a guy that came out of left field here for the Bengals would be Josh Malone. He only had 3 targets, caught 2 of them for 35 yards and a touchdown. So if you're kind of desperate for a receiver, you think someone might have to emerge outside of A.J. Green in Cincinnati, maybe Josh Malone's your guy. That's tough to say, but he might be.
Yeah, I mean, my instant reaction is the tale of 2 ends. I love Tyler Kroft and I love Jack Doyle. I actually picked up Jack Doyle in my 16-team league 2 weeks ago. Nice. Where tight ends seemed to be like hot potatoes that were dropped everywhere. It's a cesspool for tight ends. I mean, we've talked about it on our Beerfield show. It seems like every other week someone sucks. It's always the top 5, Ertz, Gronk, Kelsey, Clay when he was healthy. And then you get your plethora of, like, maybe it'll happen this week tight ends. I need to see a little bit more from Josh Malone if I want to buy into that.
Right.
I don't buy into the Bengals passing offense. It's way too inconsistent. I don't buy into, Marvin Jones as a whole has been a fucking nightmare to deal with. You have one of the most talented running backs in Joe Mixon, and you don't really use them. It's really annoying, and their offensive line is garbage. But this was a great matchup for them. They should have done a little bit more. But Kraft seems to keep scoring. A.J. Green was shut down besides a touchdown. But, Kraft keeps scoring. Doyle finally got into the end zone, and he posted one of the best tight end weeks we've had in a long time.
Right, yeah, that was, I swear, every time I looked over at this game, it was just Doyle getting another catch, Doyle doing this, Doyle doing that. It almost seemed like no one else on that team even exists. Like, there was no T.Y. Hilton really to speak of. And then there was a report earlier today, too, that, like, pretty much everyone on the Colts outside of Luck was available for trade. They were talking about that, and it's like, I don't know, does a team try to get a guy like T.Y. Hilton? Like, I think T.Y. Hilton, I think I've severely underrated him as just a football player in general. It kind of seems like, I thought right away, I'm like, well, he's just getting a ton of yards because of Andrew Luck. But I don't know, he's been really shown to be able to just kind of produce against anyone. He just needs opportunities. Can you imagine T.Y. Hilton with a team like the Patriots? Anyone with the Patriots is going to be good. But I really like T.Y. Hilton.
We get to see that a little bit in Brandon Cooks. They kind of play similar roles.
Right.
It's just that we've always been, like you just said, we don't really know what we have from T.Y. because of Luck. And we saw a little bit last year when Luck was on and off, banged up, and a couple years ago when it was the same case. They said T.Y. needs a quarterback that can get the ball in space. Mm-hmm. Brissett's not a terrible quarterback. He's not good, but this was a great Bengal. It's great to see that, and then with the emergence of Jack Doyle with him, should free up more T.Y. T.Y. also dropped a couple footballs in this game, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But if both for fantasy and for an actual NFL team, I'd go out and get T.Y. and T.Y. Hilton in an instance. It's kind of like Percy Harvin without the headaches.
Yeah.
Totally pun intended there.
I love it.
And he's a good receiver. He's a great downfield threat. And just like you see guys with Tyreek Hill and it's Brandon Cooks, you get a guy that can be a dual threat down the field and over the middle. It's a great win-win for a team that needs, a type of receiver like that.
Yeah. Let's jump on to the Patriots and Chargers game. My takeaway here is nailed it. On the last podcast, I said that the Chargers would lose in a one-possession game. They're going to get back to their old ways. They sure did that. I nailed it, except for I lost in my against the spread because of that ridiculous play by Travis Benjamin, resulting in a safety. So instead of just losing by 6 or 7 like they easily could have, decided to go to 8. So Vegas got me right there and nailed it because I said the Pats were never gone. They're still the same team. It just took them a little while to get going here. You got Tom Brady going for over 330 again in a touchdown. You've got your primary running backs on that team combining for 14 receptions. And your defense is kind of back. They struggled the first 4 or 5 weeks. They've been awesome recently. They were awesome again today, minus 1 bad play against Melvin Gordon. This is who the Patriots are. They're going to find your weakness. And apparently today's weakness against the Chargers was, let's just dump it to our running backs because the Chargers have great edge rushers. They're going to get close, and then our running backs can beat your linebackers over the middle. And that's literally what they did the entire game.
I didn't get to really see this game much. It was kind of on a TV that wasn't really beside me. I was able to catch the random Travis Benjamin plays. Yeah. My takeaway is what the fuck was he doing running backwards into the end zone?
So brutal.
But I don't really. It's tough because the Patriots are always been a team that's been kind of like this. We've seen it over the last 3 years where they started out somewhat slow, or Brady will go through a slump. And the whole fucking world will be like, oh, what the hell is happening to the Patriots?
Yeah, Brady's done.
It's like, you see it every year. And I actually predicted that the Pats would win the Super Bowl after they went down 28-3, and everyone at the bar was like, this game's over with. I'm like, bullshit, we're in the Super Bowl. This is Tom Brady. This is Bill Belichick. They'll figure this shit out and find a way to win. And, of course, they did, which sucks because I like the Patriots. But
right.
As a whole, for fantasy-wise, this is still a good offense. Brady just doesn't have the big blowout games that you see.
Right.
And if we lose Chris Hogan for multiple weeks, it also hurts it.
Right. I like that the common denominator with your beer fueled podcast, you guys are always at the bar. That's the common denominator with you guys. I don't remember exactly which city you guys said you were in Illinois, but I feel like the bar owners there love you guys.
We're from we live in Springfield.
Nice.
And everything is so cheap down here, which is fantastic because we buy a lot of booze and food, which is great for the bars. And then we're trying to like make our name into the bars, be like, hey, we're a podcast, but half the people there don't even know what fantasy football is. So
right, makes it a little tough.
It's not the best in the world, but we get enjoyment out of it.
I like it. The Saints beat the Bears 20-12, and my takeaway from this, my one syllable, I'm finally going to play by the rule. It's meh. There was really no huge like fantasy outputs in this game, just a lot of average. I mean, you have Breeze throwing for 300, but he had no touchdowns. As DJ predicted, Ingram got his touchdown, not 100 yards. Kamara scored, he had 80-ish total yards, so he's probably your best bet here in this one. And then you have Michael Thomas with 77 yards, no touchdowns. But pretty much everything was spread out, with the Bears only scoring 12 points. You're not starting Trubisky. You're not starting their receivers. You're basically starting Howard. And he had a fine game, but it's nothing that's going to win you a week. So I like my meh here.
I mean, I believe the Bears defense a little more than I think most people do. I know that, that Hopper's is from this area, so he's been on the Bears. He's been on the Bears team for a long time, and he called this as a decent play. I know that the stat lines won't show up, but they got the Breeze a lot today.
Yes.
Which means I'm also not necessarily sure if I'm buying as much of the Saints passing offense. Thomas doesn't get fed enough. He had 2 receptions at halftime, and he was their best receiver.
Mm-hmm.
But owning their running backs has been fantastic. I picked up Kamara in my Eliminator League, and it was a fucking huge payoff, so thanks to that. And thank God Mark Ingram stopped sleeping with Sean Payton's wife, and he was able to get a bunch of work points. Totally pun intended there as well.
Well played, man. You got all the puns today. This is beautiful.
I tried.
Let's go on to the Falcons and the Jets. I got the Falcons winning 25-20. And for this game, I am grateful. I am grateful that I got my line against the spread before it hit 6, so I was able to win that one against the spread. But man, I'm also grateful that the weather didn't screw Atlanta more than it did. Every time I looked at this game, they were fumbling a snap, it seemed like. So it's time of the year where you need to start looking at weather and forecast before games. And for however boring and nerdy that sounds, it's a real thing. You need to start doing that. And last but not least, I am forever grateful for my fantasy strategy of not drafting players on the New York Jets. The people that scored touchdowns today, you've got Robbie Anderson and something called Eric Tomlinson. I'm not 100% sure what that is, but that's who scored today.
He's the son of LaDainian Tomlinson's third child.
That's all we have. If it wouldn't have been for LaDainian Tomlinson, people wouldn't have been able to even pronounce the last name, probably.
Probably. I bet on college basketball a lot, but man, betting on pro football is a lot harder. Those lines are ridiculous. And you never know when a team sucks. And I completely agree with you on the weather part. I've been looking into that a little bit more, and it's hard to predict because you'll get games like the Snow Bowl where Brady will throw 6 touchdowns.
Right.
Or the game a couple years ago with the Vikings and Ravens, complete snow. You're like, ain't shit gonna happen, and they scored like 7 offensive touchdowns in the second half. So it's I agree with you on the Jets thing. We've been preaching that all year. Fuck that shit. Like their running back is worse. Like their running back thing is worse than the Patriots.
Oh yeah,
it's been a nightmare to own. At least they
terrible.
They throw their check down, so at least 2 running backs. But
and
Atlanta, I feel really bad for Julio not getting enough love there.
Gosh, every week.
It just seems like it's like I'm like if I owned Julio, I'd be like, you can have him.
Yeah.
Like,
Someone,
I want to keep him.
Yeah.
Like it can't continue to be this bad every week.
I know. Someone asked me in our keeper league if Julio was tradable for me, and I said no. Like literally, he's the one guy on my team I'm not dealing. But I'm not quite sure why I keep saying that every single week. I could probably have gotten a haul for him for a guy that, yeah, he's going to get a lot of yards probably every week, but he never seems to score. I'm trying to think back. I don't think he's ever had a double-digit touchdown season. And if you're looking at elite receivers, which Julio obviously is, he's probably the most talented guy in the league. For him not to have a double-digit season for as long as he's been in the NFL, it's unbelievable to me.
Yeah, I think his highest is like 8 on the year.
Yeah.
And this is with Matt Ryan's breakout. I don't want to say breakout because he's old, but like
right.
an MVP season where everything was going right for them, and he just doesn't seem to. He'll get the yards like you said, and he'll have that one random 300-yard game where he'll literally win you your week. But it's been kind of an up and down train wreck with him.
Oh my gosh.
He's like the greatest boom bust receiver. We'll never say he was.
Yep.
That makes any sense.
That's perfectly said. Yes. Speaking of MVPs, the next game, the Eagles beat up on the 49ers the way they should, 33-10. And my takeaway is MVP, and is Carson Wentz the MVP right now? He's led the Eagles to a 7-1 record. He's got 19 touchdowns, I think, 19 or 20, and only 5 picks. And this isn't just against like San Francisco. I don't want people to think I'm just saying, oh, the Eagles have been awesome on offense recently and they just won again this week. It's you're overreacting because it's against the 49ers. No, they've played some decent defenses as well. And they have a tough road to go yet. That division isn't going to fold, as we saw by the Redskins-Cowboys game earlier, or just a little while ago, I should say. So I want to ask you, Carson Wentz, for the MVP, do you see a collapse in his future, or is he for real?
I think he's for real. I was a big fan of Wentz coming out of college. He's the perfect human person. I guess human body size.
Prototype quarterback.
Here you go. Words are hard for me. To play quarterback, and this entire offense was missing his number one receiver last year. And they got that in Alshon Jeffrey. You bring in a deep threat like Torrey Smith, you see, you see this coaching staff believing in Nelson Aguilar enough so to trade Jordan Matthews away. And this offense has been amazing to watch. I think he is. I think there's only one person that may have his number, and that's Alex Smith.
Oh, yes.
But if the Chiefs keep losing, it's going to be Wentz. I mean, and you can't keep counting out Tom Brady. I mean, it's Tom Brady. I hate him as much as I don't like Tom Brady. He's a beast every year.
Yeah, and there's a lot of season left, like you said. We are early.
Football left.
Exactly. We brought it up a couple of podcasts ago. So that draft class was basically Goff, Wentz, and then you're looking at Dak as well. I don't want to, not to put you too much on the spot here, but how would you rank those if you were starting a franchise between those three? Who are you taking 1, 2, and 3?
Wentz, Prescott, and Goff. Wentz, like we just talked about it, he has everything you need for a quarterback. He just didn't play against the best competition. Dak is a little hard. How much do we really believe in Dak? Is the offense, the offensive line, it's Zeke, it's Dez. It's kind of like the same way with like Russell Wilson, except it was a great defense. How much was the defense carrying Wilson and his team? Is how much is Dak being carried by Zeke, this offensive line? Not so much Dez because he's been inconsistent with Dak. And then Goff finally, I completely blame Jeff Fisher for Goff. He fucked everything up. I mean, he had the worst statistical year a quarterback, has ever had if they played 11 games. It was horrible, and then he comes out with Sean McVay, and it's been amazing to watch.
Right.
Watkins hasn't really been much of anything, but it's a new offense. He's had his rapport with Kupp. Woods has looked good. Todd Gurley's come alive completely. I know it may not be all Jared Goff, but he's done enough to keep that team. He's doing enough to keep that team winning. But if I had to pick one of the three, I'm picking Wentz for sure.
Right. I was actually the same order that you were a couple weeks back when we said it, and I'm going to stick with that order. I don't mind any of the three of them. I'm fine with all three right now. I think it's still kind of early. I want to give them more starts before I would say for sure who I would want.
For sure.
The way things are trending right now, me and you are in the same canoe.
I mean, you saw a guy like Robert Griffin III, after his rookie year.
Yeah.
You saw what happened afterwards. So,
right.
that a player can go completely bottoms up in a given season.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about a team that's kind of just been super underwhelming. The Panthers beating up on the Bucs 17-3. My one syllable here, fooled. I thought Tampa Bay was going to be a top flight offense. I mean, I know that the Panthers have a pretty good defense, but this is the NFL. That's a division game, and you're at home. And if you're Jameis Winston throwing for 200 yards and no touchdowns and 2 picks, if you're Doug Martin averaging under 4 yards per carry, you're the combination that people were all in on this year with Evans and Jackson, and you're combining for 8 catches for under 100 yards and no touchdowns. I was fooled. I'm going to own up to this one. I am not happy with a lot of my fantasy picks based on the Buccaneers this season.
Yeah, it's been a headache owning Bucks. I own one share of Winston, one share of Evans. I had at one point 4 shares of Doug Martin. I own Cameron Brake for a little bit. I won't own Deshaun Jackson. I won't pay that much, for a true bust receiver.
Mm-hmm.
But I still believe in the offense. I know it's hard to say after this week. Over 2 picks and a fumble. And it's been hard to watch. But the Panthers do have a good defense. The Bucs' offensive line's been very inconsistent on the season. If they can get the running game going and they can get Winston time, they'll be super deadly.
Right.
But as what the Panthers will show, they will beat you with their front seven. Like, their secondary isn't that good. It's just if they can get to the quarterback and stop the running game, they will control the game. And we saw that today. It sucks. I had to play Winston. I actually played a guy who had Cam Newton, so I was still pretty happy about the outcome because Newton didn't do anything.
Right.
It's been a complete headache. Owning any true Buck player outside of maybe Bray, who's been somewhat consistent.
And Evans has been fine, but for how high you took him, yeah, he's probably not quite living up to what you had thought, anyways.
Yeah.
And these two teams, I just can't predict them anymore. I really thought we had talked about it on the podcast earlier in the week that I'm going to give Cam Newton another try here. He's playing against the Buccaneers. They struggle against the pass. You've got Benjamin and Funchess going against much smaller defensive backs, and just nothing. Just from this entire game, I was flipping through it every once in a while, and I don't know. There's still something wrong with Cam Newton. Every time I watch him, I always thought, I'm like, total arm thrower. He doesn't have enough confidence in his lower body. He doesn't step into a throw like a normal quarterback. As soon as something happens with his arm or his shoulder, the accuracy is going to be gone, the strength is going to be gone, his timing is going to be off. The MVP season, everything clicked. Everything just lined up perfectly with him. And he was running in touchdowns too, so that helps. Something is just not there, though, this year, and it makes those teams impossible to predict.
It sucks for them not having Greg Olsen. I think people underestimate how big of a loss that was because Cam lost his safety blanket.
Good call.
He lost his main third down target. He lost their main wide receiver tight end going over the middle. I don't mind Benjamin, but he can't create space.
Right.
He's a decent 50-50, but the ball still has to be somewhat on target. And Funchess gets in his own way way too many times, way too much in his head. And you were spot on about Cam Newton. And when Rivera came out and said that they don't want to run him as much, his entire fantasy value went down the drain with that.
Big time.
We got to see a good, a good 3-week glimpse of it, but when he hurt his shoulder a couple weeks ago, it just kind of went out the window for him.
Right. Let's go on to probably the craziest game of the day, and it was the Seahawks 41 over the Texans 38. And, man, my takeaway here, I apologize. I want to apologize so much on this game because I said bench Watson in your starting fantasy lineup. Don't use him in daily fantasy. He got to that price point where he was going to have his rookie game. And no, he goes over 400 passing, over 60 rushing, 4 touchdowns. And then also, outside of Watson, I told someone on Twitter this morning who was looking for advice, I told him to use Deshaun Jackson over Will Fuller. And I just got done telling you that the combination of Mike Evans and Deshaun Jackson didn't even touch 100 yards, whereas Fuller went 5 catches, 125 yards, 2 touchdowns. So for that, I apologize. I can't be right every time, damn it. I cannot be right every time.
I mean, his touchdown rate is only being reliable to what Alan Hearns was a couple years ago during his breakout year. All he does is catch fucking touchdowns.
It's ridiculous.
I benched, like I told you before, I benched Watson and I started Cousins over him.
Yep.
Meaning every single expert out there, told people if you're going to start Watson, it's going to be a bad game. Won't be a lot of points. If you can bench him, find another. If you can find somebody else to play, play them over him. And we were wrong. I was wrong about Watson about a lot of things. He's been fantastic to watch this year. He's made a lot of strides. He's still a little inconsistent on his accuracy, but he's got great decision making, something that we didn't really see much in college. Mm-hmm. He's not a one read type of guy, which we saw a lot in college, and he just feels confident. It's almost like watching second half Russell Wilson. When I mean my second half, I mean like second half, the week after their bye week, where something just clicks in Wilson. We're seeing the same thing in Watson right now, where it's so fun to watch. And if you can trade both, if you can trade Fuller, trade him.
Right.
Seriously, like his value can't get much higher.
No.
And you can probably, get a guy maybe like Julio, where you trade Fuller and somebody else, you can probably get, a guy like Jones in return.
Right. And like you said, that's probably an ideal trade. Trying to make it happen is always a little bit difficult. But yeah, you see Fuller here, and people are going to say, "Oh my God, 125 and 2 touchdowns against that defense." This is the time, like you said. If he's scoring, it's through touchdowns. So yeah,
he scored 7 touchdowns in 4 games.
Crazy.
And at one point, he caught 7 touchdowns on 11 receptions for the game.
Gosh, yeah, that is.
You can't keep it up. I'm sorry, you can't.
No, at some point that's gonna fade. Still, the biggest question of the season was kind of funny that the Texans even considered using Tom Savage at one point.
I know.
I love that lasted a half.
Oh man, those are the good days.
Those are the days. Doesn't that seem like such a long time ago now?
I felt like forever moons ago.
Right. I want to say, and I want to ask you now too. I don't even think it matters what the Texans over-under is anymore. I think you just bet the over. Their last 5 games, their point totals, 69, 71, 76, 50, and 79. Those are college football totals.
Yeah, I mean, unless Vegas puts the over-under up.
Yeah, that'd be one thing, looking at what Vegas...
More than 5 games, but
yeah.
I don't know what Vegas had the game at, but people still don't believe that Houston's going to put up this kind of points every week. So their over-under is probably going to be in the high 40s every week.
Right.
You're going to feel confident you're going to be over every time.
Man, and I feel like ever since, and I know Watt can only do so much, but I mean, we're talking about a former NFL Defensive Player of the Year, but it kind of seems like ever since he's went out, that whole defense has just kind of went out with him. So, I mean, I still don't even mind that defense, but they're giving it up. But the good thing is, Watson has looked like he's basically been playing in that national championship the last 2 years where, we're down, I'm just going to go back and fire another touchdown. We're down again, I'm just going to do this again. Like, they're just putting up points.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch. I expect a little bit of regression, but we've been saying that since his breakout game. It hasn't happened. It's the same thing with Will Fuller, too. I mean, it will happen. You won't get, games like this. So finally, some team will find a way to get into Watson's head.
Right. I just really thought it was going to be this week.
Yeah.
Yep. Let's go on to the last game that just ended a little while ago. Got the Cowboys 33 over the Redskins 19. My takeaway here is trade partner. I want to ask you, if you're in contention in fantasy right now, pushing for playoffs or to make a little noise in the playoffs, you're in need of a running back. Are you going to target Chris Thompson? I kind of want to single him out because he might be a player that your current opponent is maybe willing to part with just due to kind of his sporadic use, because he makes basically all of his plays through the air, but he's doing it almost every single week. So would you target him maybe in a trade right now?
I am buying Chris Thompson. He has scored less than 10 points once.
God,
and that was in a really
crazy.
odd game. He's the only worthwhile running back in an offense. The offensive line is garbage, which means a lot of checkdowns, a lot of tight end use, and they run plays specifically to get Thompson involved, which is on checkdowns, which is amazing for PPR leagues because you're getting easy points right away. And they use them in the goal line. They use them in all sorts of situations. He stole a touchdown last week, from Rob Kelly, and that's just what he does. He's good to get you at least 10 points in a PPR league every week.
I totally agree.
want that.
Yeah, I totally would want him too. I'm already upset that I don't have him in any leagues. I would definitely be looking to trade for him. They use him the way I feel like Atlanta should try to use Tevin Coleman a little bit more. I feel like he gets ignored a little bit too much out of the backfield, where that's something that you can take advantage of. We just saw the Patriots do it all day. Get him out there, let your receivers run down the field, let him go one-on-one against a linebacker. It's almost a guaranteed catch for 5 to 10 yards, but if he breaks it, which Tevin Coleman has more than enough ability to, you're going to be able to pop off a couple 20-plus yarders every single game.
I don't understand why they don't use him and Freeman at the same time.
Oh,
Shotgun,
right.
Split ends. You can send Coleman out or Freeman out, on the slot. Let him run a quick 5-yard button hooker.
Right.
A 5-yard flat route or something like that. They're those two are better than their third receiver. I like Taylor Gabriel.
Yeah.
But Coleman and Freeman are just more talented. And it frees up over the top for Jones to do work. And, and it also frees up Sanu, and it just makes life easier for Matt Ryan. I'm not saying I should be an offensive coordinator for the Falcons right now.
But
I'm just saying it's a little bit easier than that.
Right. No, this entire year, the entire game plan for the Falcons has just blown me away. I'm just not 100% sure what they're doing. I thought losing Shanahan would hurt some, but man, they have taken quite a few steps in the wrong direction without him.
Not to this extent. Matt Ryan has been what we normally see it from him
right.
6 years ago.
Oh yeah, he's back.
He'll give you he'll at least give you one or two big games, and his best game was week 1, or
right?
maybe last week, where he should have had an awesome week, and he completely shit the bed until the end.
Yep. The Sunday night football game between the Steelers and Lions just kicked off. Do you have any thoughts or predictions on this one?
Juju Smith will find his bike. It'll be in the end zone when he scores his third or fourth on the season. Watch out for that touchdown celebration. And Marvin Jones will have himself a good night just because of volume alone.
I like it, man. How great would it be if they actually would have put his bike in the end zone? And as we talk about it, he just goes down the sideline for a 40-yard gain. So your prediction's already looking good.
If the person who stole his bike, you have to be under a rock to not know about Juju Smith-Schuster on Twitter right now.
Correct.
And if you don't know, hey, go on Twitter and find that shit. It's fucking amazing.
It is.
And whoever has his bike, bring that shit to the stadium. I don't care how far it is. Just bring it there. He scores a touchdown. Roll out his bike. It'll be the greatest thing. It'll break the internet.
Dude.
And it'll be amazing.
That will overtake Joe Horn's cell phone. I love that one because he legit had to do that without anyone noticing pregame. He needed to plant his prop
amazing.
And it worked. To this day, I still think that's the best. If I go all in with that touchdown celebration, is there anything that you can beat me with?
I really like the hide and go seek last week from Juju, but no. Just because he brought a prop out there, that takes the cake.
Man, that's crazy.
And maybe Owens going into the middle of the Dallas
star
field.
That's my other
doing
one.
That was amazing. And then they bring him in, which is even better.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you very much for tuning in to the Loaded Box podcast. Thank you very much, Dan, for filling in today. We enjoyed having you on. So definitely check those guys out on Twitter. Check out their podcast as well. If you're not following us on Twitter already, we're at Loaded Box. Available on iTunes, all that good jazz. So, Dan, thanks again. We'll definitely have to have you on again in the future.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. And everybody, we'll be back on probably Wednesday or Thursday with our Week 9 preview. So until then, well, have a good day.